All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started today. Mr. Threadgill asked me to come out and kind of welcome our presenters today, so we appreciate you ladies coming out and talking to our parents. We appreciate those logging in and joining us online. I know that it's a difficult time to maybe get downtown Mobile during the workday, so I know I've talked to Ms. Hollins, and every year we learn from things, so I do appreciate Mr. Threadgill, Dr. Brackens, putting this together for our parents. They've always stressed to us how important it is to communicate with our parents, so I think that this will continue to grow. This is just the first year of it, and I'm looking forward to seeing it grow in the future. I just wanted to run a few things by you guys. This class was geared for sophomores, so I want to just say a few things as a principal. One thing that we have seen in the high school level, when they start getting a little older, I was a principal at Causey Middle School for 2 years, and I've been around the system a little bit, and I've noticed in the high school that a lot of times our parents sometimes go missing. We don't have the involvement, we don't get the support, we don't get the communication. So my biggest thing that I encourage our parents to do is to continue that support, because support equals success. We have a student graduate with a 33 on the ACT or an athletic scholarship or a fine arts scholarship to Alabama for band. 99% of the time those parents are the ones who are right there pushing them, supporting them, working collaboratively with us as administrators to make sure that child has everything that they need. So I want to just really encourage you, parents, as you finish out your high school career, continue to support your kids. Secondly, sophomore year is a tough year. It's a transitional year. Kids are growing physically, they're growing socially, they're growing emotionally, and it's challenging. We see it a lot, so I would ask you to continue to check in on your kid. Don't be afraid to go through the phone. Don't be afraid to ask them questions on how their day is going, because sometimes they go into this little phase, their 10th grade year to the beginning of their 11th grade year, where they just kind of transition emotionally and a lot of physical changes. They're also growing up. They're putting positions on the weekends where they're having to make choices as an adult. Mom and dad's not there, teacher's not there. We're doing things, getting a little more freedom. So just check on your kids and work with the school if there's issues. I promise you, all of the principals and the staff are there to help your child. So the third thing is your sophomore year is a year where kids start kind of figuring out what route they want to go. Freshmen, they come in and get settled in. They mainly all take the same courses. Yes, there's a few different pathways, but starting your sophomore year, kids can go a lot of different directions. I know for one thing at Alma Bryant, we have a lot of kids who want to go straight into the workforce. Their goal is to go to work right after high school, which is fine. The world needs trade. But we don't want our kids to paint themselves in the corner and think, well, I'm going to work as soon as I get out of school, so I'm not going to focus on the ACT. I'm not going to focus on my GPA, because I think we all know when they're 22 years old, their mindset can be totally different. So we really press our kids at Bryant to don't give up on yourself in the 10th grade in order to determine what you're going to do as an adult. So we challenge them to focus on their academics, focus on their ACT score, but we also want them to educate themselves on all the opportunities. Mobile County Public School System has more resources and more programs than any other system in the state. And when I say that, I mean as far as career tech, dual enrollment courses, honors courses, AP courses, IB programs, anything that your child may want, early enrollment program at Berkeley High School, University of Alabama. So every school has those different opportunities. I challenge you to find out and make sure that you understand what your particular school offers for your child, so they can be best equipped to make decisions, because these next 3 years will really kind of prepare them for where they're going. So go talk with your counselors, attend your open houses, go meet with the principals, administrators, and then talk with your kid. Hey, these are the things that they offer. Do you want to go to the Bryant Career Tech Center? Do you want to go to Faulkner and learn about small engine repair, or aviation repair, or welding, You know, there's so many things that the kids not just say, hey, I'm going to work after high school. We want them to have a plan. I'm going to work, but you know what? I've already got a credential. We had kids this year signed on with Ingalls Shipbuilding. They starting out at $85,000 because they were certified first-class welders coming out of Brighton High School. Their senior year, they spent half the day at Ingalls doing an internship. So there's so many opportunities like that, and so that would be the biggest thing in the 10th grade, I would tell you. Make sure you start looking at those opportunities and knowing what there is out there for your child. Continue to support your child, even if they're 16, 17 years old. I've heard parents say, well, he's grown, he can make his own decisions. Well, that's not so. Our kids need support, they need guidance. I've got a 21-year-old, a 19-year-old, and a 17-year-old. My 21-year-old, I still treat her the same way as I do my 17-year-old. So we want to continue to guide them and also continue to check in on your kids, because 10th grade can be a difficult and challenging year. With that said, that's kind of my little spiel that I wanted to kind of share with our parents. We do have some curriculum that will be presented for you today. I'm just going to kind of briefly introduce our instructors today. And like I said, we appreciate you ladies coming out and doing this for us. So for our English language arts curriculum, we will have Miss Bochelle, which is from Murphy High School. And then we'll have Miss Harden, which is from Blunt High School. And both of them are just well versed and have leadership roles within their schools as well. And then for your math portion, once they go through that, we'll cover some math. And Ms. Dumas from Mary G. Montgomery High School will be taking care of that for you. So create those connections with your teachers as soon as you possibly can. And I'm telling you, you will get so much more out of your teachers if the first week, second week of school, you email them and say, hey, you know, I've got a child in your class. And even if there's a story, guys, if there's a situation that they might need a little extra help with, when the teachers know the child's story, there's so much more can happen in a successful manner for that kid. So I challenge you to do that, connect with those teachers as soon as you possibly can. And like I said, I want to thank Mr. Threadgill and Ms. Hollins for putting this together. This is the first year. It's going to continue to grow, and we will continue to figure out what the best time is to get more parents involved. But as always, as a principal of Mobile County Public School System, we care about our parents. We want to inform you and keep you in the loop. And we hope you enjoy today. So we're going to go ahead and turn it over to the English department. Ladies, y'all ready to rock and roll? Thank you.
Welcome parents to the 10th grade English little seminar, get acquainted time. I am Monica Harden, and I teach at Blunt High School, as stated before. And this is Ms. Lauren Michelle. So I want you to look at the screen for me right quick. It says, be the first person to spot this picture throughout the presentation. Don't forget to stand up and shout, Roger Usher, what have you done? This first slide is going to be interactive throughout the entire presentation. I want you to think about this man. Look at the picture, because it all ties into the first unit that our students will be learning this year.
Hi, good afternoon. So as Ms. Harden let you know, my name is Ms. Lauren Bochelle. I'm a teacher at Murphy High School, where I have been going into my fourth year there, and I predominantly teach 10th grade students. So last year we rolled out a really cool new English curriculum, and it's broken up into different units, and each unit covers an entire quarter, or one quarter covers an entire unit, so we have time to slow down and really hit things that kids need to know and be really good at. And each one is has an overarching essential question. And so everything that happens in that unit is going to come back to that question that they're going to think about and consider throughout the entirety of the quarter. And one thing I really like about that is the idea that students are constantly going back to something. Because we know from educational research that whenever students are going back to those things and they're having to rethink about it, it's more likely to stay. And those skills are more likely to stay with them. So one thing I do want to highlight for you, if you notice that the units are not, they don't go in order for the 10th grade curriculum. That's because altogether, I think that there are 6 or 7 units. And in order to do 1 unit per quarter, we just picked, they selected 4 units of buildings. So, and this will be in their SAVIS book, their SAVIS curriculum. So they will have a consumable textbook they will get at school. Depending on their ELA teacher, they will write in these books. They get their own copy. Most teachers like to leave them in the classrooms if they don't go missing throughout the year. But they can write in the books, they can highlight in the books, they can answer questions in the books. So we're going back old style with those. But they have an accessible online copy. And that is through Clever. And we can get into that in a little bit. But all of these screenshots at the bottom come from the digital textbook in Clever. So they have access to a PDF digital textbook, and then there's also activities in SAVIS that they can do online as well to help build some of those skills. So overall, this new curriculum, what it will do, it follows what we call a cycle of instruction. So in our class periods daily, we follow a cycle of instruction where we move from an I do to a we do to a you do. And what that allows students to do is to see it model practice in a small group format and then be able to independently practice that themselves. And so these units follow that same cycle of instruction over the course of multiple weeks to allow students to become really familiar with those skills and really get them good. So it'll start with whole group instruction for 3 weeks, and then they'll have small group learning, and then they'll have some independent learning. That's typically where they are working on writing their final assessment, a performance-based assessment, which is going to be a writing assignment, and each quarter will have one particular writing assignment, mode writing, which Ms. Harden will talk about in just a moment for you. There are. Roger Gusher, what have you done?
You can come get a gift, you can pick out what you want on this table. Or you can get it at the end, that's fine.
Okay.
So there are different quarterly requirements that students will complete throughout the year. Each quarter the requirements are going to be the same. So as a parent, you can know what to expect and generally when to expect it because it will happen at the same time every quarter. So the first one is going to be performance task 1. That's going to happen after that whole group cycle of instruction. And typically that is a minor writing assignment where it is a writing builder. So that writing assignment is going to be the same mode of writing as their final essay for the quarter. That way they can practice that mode of writing. They can get really good feedback on that mode of writing from their teachers. They can start to see what to expect on that mode of writing. And then they will have, depending on if your student is in honors or not, honors has a small group project that is a multimedia or digital-based project that they will do after the small group session. And then all students will complete the performance-based assessment, which is that essay. Students will also have a unit assessment that is a test that will come at the end of the quarter. And then teachers may or may not choose to do selection quizzes or selection tests on each of the readings that they do. So those are the assessments that you can expect for your child to have throughout the year, and they will come every quarter around the same time.
What have you done?
I got another winner. So the EOA curriculum is simply this. You have the classic consumable workbook, which they get two. They get 2 workbooks. One is for the first 2 units, and the second consumable workbook is for the second 2 units of the year. They have the at-home textbook, So every student has access to Clever. If you would go into Clever, or if your kids have their computer at home, they can take you to the Clever platform. You would hit Savvis, and they'll be able to click a button, and they will be able to get their entire digital copy of the book. The same thing that's in the workbook is the identical thing that is in the digital aspect of the text. In that particular textbook, you will have grammar and vocabulary embedded. Of course, every story comes with its own vocabulary, and the vocabulary should be building. But you also have access to literary elements, the regular jargon vocabulary for English. Again, remember that the textbook is consumable, that they will have, and they are also able on the digital copy to highlight digitally. They can make notes digitally as well. You have an ACT resource, which is the Princeton ACT workbook in your packet, and you'll get to that in a second. But every student is required to work on ACT, no matter what grade level they're at, from 9 through 12. Mastery Prep is another digital platform that we use. At the beginning of the school year, all students are required to do the Mastery Prep Test 1. They have English, math, reading, and science. So kids have access to this also in Clever. If they're at home and they need to practice, all they need to do is log into Mastery Prep and work on those skills to be proficient in English, reading, math, and science in Mastery Prep. In school, the daily cycle begins with a bell ringer or a do now activity. In English 10, we normally do editable sentences. So we go in and we edit the sentence, or we do revisions to sentences that work on their basic grammar skills, sentence structure skills as well. Savvis supports grammar, vocabulary, close read activities. In every selection that we read, there is a close read activity where students get to dive into the text and analyze and basically look at all the different skills that an author uses in his or her writing. Then, of course, we have an ACT practice writing test. So from 9, 10, 11, and 12, all these students will be working on ACT writing. When the students are in the 11th grade, they have to take the ACT writing portion of the test. So in order to be proficient in that, they need to practice every day. Writing is essential. You cannot get around writing. You write every day, maybe on your job, when you write a check, when you go to church, whatever it is, you're writing. So we want to make sure that our kids are able to pass the writing portion of ACT. The writing portion of ACT basically says if you get 12 points, you have mastered the writing portion. Most of our kids are averaging about 4 to 5 points. Well, that's not good enough. We need them to get at least half the points, or at least close to half the points. So when your students are at home and they say, oh, I gotta write an essay, encourage them. Sit down and write that essay. Don't utilize AI. AI is an easy way out, because if your student is planning to go to college, he or she will not be able to use AI in their writing. They have to be authentic in their thoughts. So the more that they read and the more that they write and the more that they practice writing, the better they're going to be.
Okay, so one of the things that we were asked to do today is to present kind of a mock lesson so that you can see what things look like in a 10th grade English classroom. And so what we decided to do was model our lesson off of what's called a launch lesson. And this is where we introduce the unit, we introduce some text, we basically dip their toes into the water to let them know here's what's coming for the quarter. And we're going to be doing this with quarter 1. And remember how I told you that each quarter has an overarching essential question? Quarter 1 is, what is the allure of fear? And Savvis kind of elaborates on that question by bringing up things like, well, what draws us to haunted houses? What makes people want to be afraid? Why do people like scary movies? Why do people like to be afraid? So this is kind of where we start off with things. So we're going to start with something that I call a hexagon thinking.
Usher, what have you done?
Great job.
She's two for two. Come on.
That's awesome. So I do this, it's called a hexagonal thinking activity. These papers are supposed to be cut into hexagons. However, scissors were not available to me, and so we're going to be flexible and creative. So as you get these, what I want you to do is you'll note that there are 6 sides. So what I want you to do is answer this question. You're going to write one thing per side. What types of things do you associate with fear or being afraid? So on my side, I might write clowns. I might write the ocean. Terribly afraid of the ocean. I might write scary, things like that. Adjectives, nouns, things you associate with being afraid. So you're going to do one per side. And I'll give you about a minute to do that. And at the end of a minute, what I want you to do is to get up. We're going to get up. We're going to move around. We love it. And see if you can find a couple of people who have similar things to you and just kind of talk about what your similarities are. Ignore what it says on the board. This was whenever it was cut out to be hexagons, not paper hexagons. So write your 6 things and then see if you can find people who have things similar. I'm really happy, I was really happy watching y'all do this and watching y'all interact with one another. This question I left open on purpose. So the key thing about the English curriculum, and this is something that we discuss with students very early in the year, is that the book is called My Perspectives, and it is to give students an idea to be able to see things from various perspectives, from various angles and things like that. And so the way that each of you did it, no one did this incorrectly. Everyone did it very correctly, and all of this can serve as things to think about as we read the story. So the first story that they'll read, which we'll talk about kind of toward the end, is called The Fall of the House of Usher. And so, forget that I said that. Just, what jury, strike that from the record. But we'll, it's something for them to keep in mind. So they can think in mind as they read it, feelings. They can keep in mind, this is scary. Help them identify things throughout the story to build connections, because not only do we want them building these skills, we also want kids to like reading. So being able to do these things and build those skills kind of helps them like reading a little bit more. Okay, so we're gonna watch this very brief video. Looks scary, it's not. It's from a news segment, I promise. But what I want you to do is, while you watch the video, just kind of think in your brains to yourself, how does this video connect with the unit essential question, which is, just a reminder, what is the allure of fear? This is about a 2-minute video.
Welcome boost perhaps one case when fear factor actually helps. Halloween spending on the rise this year, and here's ABC's Clayton Sandell.
To some, it's the sound of terror. To others, the sound of cash registers. Chris Stafford is what you might call an entrepreneur.
Are you doing that in the alien hallway tonight?
He co-owns 5 haunted houses in 3 states, including Denver's 13th floor. The wait to get in, 4 hours.
Haunted houses are coming into their own as another form of live entertainment.
Stafford hires 500 part-time actors in Hollywood-style makeup, like this one for me.
Please make sure you're getting my good side.
Nationwide, there are roughly 1,200 professional haunts, ticket sales roughly $1 billion. Halloween spending is second only to Christmas. Candy, costumes, and decorations will scare $7 billion out of American wallets this year, up from $3.3 billion in 2005.
This guy is called Air Corpse.
At Distortions Unlimited in Greeley, Colorado, this creepy creation goes for $300.
Therapy for the children for the next 20 years. It's going to be pricey.
Welcome to the asylum!
For some, Halloween is like therapy.
People want to escape, they want to get into another environment, maybe stop thinking about things and thinking about the world and how scary that part is, and come out and actually get scared.
As profits rise faster than the living dead. Clayton Sandell, ABC News, Denver.
Okay, so that video was part of our, in the Savas digital textbook, that's called their launch video. So we're going to do an activity called Think, Pair, Share. So while you watched the video, what you did was you thought about how that connects to our central question, which is what is the allure of fear? Why do we want to be afraid? So what I want you to do, take about 10 seconds to just kind of reflect on that, and then at the end of 10 seconds, I'll let y'all, I'm not gonna put a timer up for 10 seconds. You can kind of turn and talk to the people around you about how you think it connects, and then at the end of it, I want to hear from just like 2 or 3 people what your group discussed. Sound good? Okay, so 10 seconds, think to yourselves, and then kind of talk to your people around you for about 30 seconds.
I'm pretty sure you're familiar with that clown right there, right? So what we're gonna do, you're gonna get a handout, and it's gonna be a 2-part segment. The first one is going to be, would you rather? And then after that, we're gonna transition into a writing assignment. So this is something that we would do in class, just so that our students can be familiar with the text, to get their brains moving and jogging and looking at things from a different perspective. So on the answer sheet, you're gonna record your responses to the questions. When the video is over, you're gonna find someone in the room who has 3 of the same choices as you. Then you're going to briefly discuss your similarities. So when you get your paper, we're going to get started.
Ms. Horton, I think they all have their papers.
All right, let's get started. Here we go.
Yo, party people! Good, yes, good. Good, because we're playing Would You Rather Fear Edition. Let's go! Okay, first one, would you rather sleep in a room with creepy dolls or spend a night with a clown? Ugh, no, just no.
So circle it on your paper or shade it on your paper.
Would you rather be chased by a giant spider or be chased by a rat? Would you rather stand on the edge of a skyscraper or be stuck in a small dark room? Would you rather stay in a haunted hotel or a haunted hospital? Which one's better? Alrighty, would you rather swim in a pool of crocodiles or sharks? Would you rather have all your text conversations leaked or all your pictures leaked? Dang! Would you rather experience an earthquake or a tornado? Would you rather fly with the world's worst pilot or get treated by the world's worst dentist? Ugh, I think I'm gonna go for the dentist. Ah. So would you rather walk on a narrow bridge over a deep canyon or climb a steep mountain? Would you rather be in a sinking ship or in a crashing plane? So scary. Okay, now, would you rather lose all your savings or lose your swim gear jumping in the pool? Would you rather be stuck in an elevator or stuck in an overcrowded room? you rather see a ghost or see an alien? Oh,
Okay, so now you're going to find 3 people or find someone that has at least 3 of the things that you have in common. Okay.
If you are just joining us, can you please come we played a little would you rather game that has to do with the quarter point unit, which is based on fear. So just for you to have and follow along, here you go. Is there anyone missing who has not gotten one? Right, please.
Okay, so how many people had some similarities? Would you care to share what your similarities would be? Spend the night with the clowns. Okay. Who else?
Stand on the edge of a skyscraper.
Okay. Do you know when I did this game, I chose my favorite one. I'd rather lose my swim gear in the pool than all of my savings. Okay, wonderful. So you've discussed your similarities. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at would you rather writing. Now, the game is fun, but the writing, of course, is going to give you an insight into what students would have to do. So we're going to do a sentence stem called because, but, so. And it helps our students to write good topic sentences. Sometimes kids have to come up with ideas, and they're like, I don't know what to write. I don't know, help me. But this sentence frame, because, but, so, is going to be very, very helpful. So when you think of because, it introduces a cause or a reason. The but introduces a contrast, a change of direction or surprise. And then the so introduces a consequence, effect, or result. So I used one of my choices when I played the game. And I wrote, losing my swimsuit in the pool is more favorable than losing all of my savings because, and then I gave my reason, once I get out of the pool, I can always buy a new one. Then you use the same stem. Losing my swimsuit in the pool is more favorable than losing all of my savings. Then I go to the but, which is going to introduce a contrast. But it would be most embarrassing. Okay? Then the so portion. Losing my swimsuit in the pool is more favorable than losing all of my savings. So I plan to sit poolside instead. So that will be my effect or my result. So what you're going to do is flip your paper to activity 3. On activity 3, you're going to choose one of your more favorable things that would you rather. So let's look at the directions here right quick. It says, at the top of the page, write one of the scenarios that you'd rather do. Then use the sentence stem below to write a mini paragraph. Would you rather, and put your answer choice. And then when you put that answer choice, you're going to say, I would rather do whatever that answer choice is opposed to the other thing, and you put your reason because. And then you'll move on with the same sentence at the second portion. I would rather do whatever over something else, but, and then the so. You have 5 minutes. All right, time is up. I'd like to hear from one person your because, one person their but, and one person their so. Just to see if you got the grasp of the concept. And these are the kinds of sentence stems that your kids will get in the classroom in 10th grade. Just so that they can get their juices flowing and try to get that first topic sentence or that first paragraph down pat for their writing. And this is really geared a lot towards the argumentative. Okay? So who would like to share their because? Yes, ma'am.
So, you want me to start with the first part?
Yes.
I would
want to do for direction. So let me hear from another parent on their but sentence. On their but sentence. Yes, ma'am.
I would rather be in a sinking boat than in a crashing plane, but I need to learn to swim in order to survive.
Oh, all right. That's awesome. Okay, now let's hear a so sentence. Yes, ma'am.
I would rather be in a sinking boat than be in a crashing plane. So my travel plans going forward will include boats on.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Good job, good job.
Yep, sorry.
What have you done?
Good job. Okay. That was all, apologies. Okay, so, hopefully you forgot. I was just texting earlier to see if you're paying attention. So, this is going to tie into the first story. So typically the graphical lesson, teachers have different strategies, and one strategy that we are modeling for you today is one that is going to allow them to activate prior knowledge and make predictions ahead of time. So we're making predictions, that way for the next lesson they can activate that prior knowledge of those predictions to kind of gear into the lesson. So we've been saying the whole time, our attention grabber has been Roderick Usher, what have you done? And so, take a look at these pictures. Does anyone want to get, we're just making predictions, there's no wrong answers, you've not, maybe you have read the story before. Does anyone want to guess what Roderick Usher did do? Just based on the pictures, it can be.
Visit a haunted house.
Okay, that's a good guess. Other guesses? Okay, so maybe he wrote horror stories. Ms. Harden, do you know?
I do know. So in this text, Roderick Usher buried his sister Madeline alive in a dungeon
In the basement.
in the basement.
Okay, so I said it earlier, this is also a Netflix show. Roderick Usher, does anyone want to guess the title of the story that they're going to read first? Fall of the House of Usher. Awesome, good job, y'all. And this was written by, does anyone want to guess? Really spooky? That's the one, Edgar Allan Poe, great job. Okay, so we've got about 1 minute left, so I want to very briefly talk about what's in your bag. My husband hates when it's called this, but a swag bag. So the first thing you've got, Ms. Harden is showing you, this is a Princeton ACT prep book. And if you're in a chair that does not have a bag, please help yourself to one. There's some goodies in there, and this is probably the best goodie of them all. This is a wonderful ACT prep book. So in addition to all of the online platforms that Mayfield County makes accessible, y'all are getting a copy of this wonderful ACT prep book. It's got strategies, practice tests, practice questions. And I know some of the kids, they like to think of it as just another test, and I tell them all the time, baby, this is money for college. We're trying to get you some money. The other thing that you've got in your bag is going to, I want to focus on, this is the one I want to focus on. So if you find that there's an orange box and then an eyeball next to it, we're looking at orange box and eyeball. This is the one that pertains to y'all in this session. Okay, so this is going to be the breakdown for the ELA curriculum for 10th grade by quarter. So it will have discussion points with your students, so ways, like things you can ask them to check in, see how things are going. And it's going to have those performance tasks and assessments that we talked about earlier, the ones that show up at the same time every quarter. And then on the back of each page, you'll see that there are target standards. This is there because if you choose to seek tutoring for your student for a quarter, those standards are things you can tell the tutor, hey, we're working on analyzing context and organizational structures this quarter, and that's something that the tutor can highlight to make sure that they are successful in ELA that quarter. So with that being said, this is a really helpful tool. Please hang on to it. Please have these discussions with your students. With that being said, thank you so much. Y'all been